guys take it away.
Okay, that sounds good. Thanks for having us. Yeah, like she said, I'm Cole Shakespeare. I'm the fiscal monitor team manager. I've been with the agency for, just over 8 years now. Diane, she's been with us for just over a year and a half-ish, I believe. She handles internal controls. So she'll be presenting first. We're in the office today, so we're just in my office and she'll take my spot here in just a second. But yeah, we're happy to be here and happy to answer any questions after our presentations or, at any time if you guys have any questions for us, we're available to chat or provide training for you guys. So yeah, with that, I will scoot out of the way and let Diane take over and she'll talk to you guys about time and effort.
Thank you, Cole.
Ooh.
Oh, I need to grow a bit. Do we have a telephone book?
You can raise the chair.
No, I'm okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Diane Freeman. As Cole mentioned, I am a fiscal monitor. Internal controls is where I ride, and I'm here to share some information with you about USBE recommendations on time and effort reporting. You have all probably heard about time and effort and the need to report this. I'm sure that a fiscal monitor has visited you, and if not yet, they will. So please note that on the first and the last slide of my presentation, you will see my name and my email address. So let's get started. I don't know if that's playing yet. Ooh. It's down here. Sorry, I don't use Zoom a lot. This one. They're both the same.
Share it.
That looks odd to me.
Can you guys see the slideshow?
We are seeing the slides on the side, so not the slideshow, but we do see the slide.
So now we'll do the slideshow. Okay. That's an odd look. That's what their view is right there.
It's still it's not the slideshow itself yet.
Getting real set. It's that one. Okay. We good?
Still the same.
Oh,
Just on the slide on the right screen, just hit from the beginning. Maybe. Or double click on the side to change it. We are Zoom novices, I apologize.
how's
Go to the TV, slide the mouse up to the TV and pull that to the second one.
Oh, just pull this down.
Yeah, grab the top.
Thoughts?
Diane, if maybe you quit sharing, and then I have found that if you share a specific window, then try and share the application itself. That's easier to do.
Okay, so back to the TV and stop sharing. Now come back to the share. Right here at the bottom. Application.
This one.
Yeah,
This
right.
one.
Try that.
Okay, that should work. That looks good, right, Lisa?
That's perfect. Thanks.
Sorry, y'all, that wasn't embarrassing at all. Okay, so back to time and effort reporting. On the first slide, you will see my name and email address. It's also on the last slide. As we go along, I will have notes for you, and I will share this deck of slides to Lisa. And if you request them from her, you can have the whole package. So you don't have to take too many notes. Um, our time today is going to be spent talking about what are internal controls, the LEA specific policies and procedures. They're not seeing this. Okay. We're going to talk about the LEA specific policies and procedures and why it's important to have them specific to your LEA. I will probably call policies and procedures P&P moving forward, so you might hear that as well. Just know that's what I'm talking about. We'll discuss the consistency in reporting and why that is important across all your programs. We'll talk about the CFR, or the Code of Federal Regulation, and the board rules. We're also going to cover what is effort and how is it reported, and answer that question for you. Then I'm going to dive into what my process is, describe it for you, and have you ask any questions you might have. So with that, if you look at Administrative Board Rule R277113-2, Section 9, it describes internal controls as processes that are implemented by an entity's administration designed to ensure money and resources are used effectively and efficiently, that they comply with the laws, rules, and regulations. My favorite, that they produce reliable documentation. So that's very important moving forward, and operational information. These controls that you're going to put into place will also reduce your opportunity for fraud and error, which Cole's going to touch on in a little bit, and protect your LEA from those frauds and errors, and then create uniformity of expectations for your staff and administration. So I created this diagram just to show the relationship between policy and procedures. If you note that the policy is top because it tells us why we're creating our procedures. And when we write our procedures, LEA specific procedures, that will show us how we implement the said policy. If you include reference codes, which I will include in this slideshow twice, you'll have them in the notes at the back on the last slide, as well as in the middle when we talk about it. There are some codes that I think are best practice to include in your policy and in your procedures, or one or the other. Those support the criteria for your policy and procedure. And then you can reverse that process, the flow, by making sure that all of your procedures are addressing one of the reference codes. So that way you know that your work is covered and you have the best opportunity for compliance. And I had an LEA talk to me last year when we were in a meeting. Most of the time our LEAs are very happy to meet with me, and they appreciate the opportunity to go through and just make some updates here and there in the language of their policy, or help them create one that's important to them. And she said that this policy and procedure that we created in that meeting will save your bacon. And I thought that was an excellent quote, because it does speak volumes to how the opportunity that USBE is offering to you to have somebody come in and help you create those policies and procedures, how it benefits you in the long term. So that's your diagram. And I keep saying LEA specific. So what this does is it creates a roadmap that allows the administrators to, allows the LEA specifically to have the authority to define the steps. So you're going to have a roadmap, that's your policy and procedure. Then you're going to make it LEA specific. Now your LEA has the authority to define those steps. Once you've defined those steps, you have a better opportunity in practice to stay in compliance. So the question's often asked of me, can we copy the policy and procedure from another LEA? And you absolutely can. It's not illegal, but I would recommend that it be best practice to write your own. You don't know if theirs is up to date. You don't know if they've had findings on it. You're not sure if it's in compliance. And in the end, the LEA, you are responsible for ensuring that those procedures reflect how you actually track your effort reports for documentation anyway. So moving forward, you can have somebody who leaves a position and comes into a position. They can read your policy, read your procedures, and they pretty much know where to pick up where you left off. In addition to that, your federal auditors and state monitors are going to come in and they're going to read the language that you've written and included in your procedures. And they will then look at your documentation and make sure that the two match. So that's how they know if you're complying with federal and state regulation. Got to do a different screen here. So consistency in reporting is really a formula. A plus B equals C. If you have your policy plus your procedure, you have the best bet in meeting compliance. So I think that when you write a really good procedure, in specifically a procedure that's really, really good, detailed, and it kind of points out exactly the roadmap of what you're doing in your agency or in your LEA from start to finish, it creates uniformity. Now you've simplified the method that you use across all your programs. You're not worried about their funding source. You're just simplifying it and making it that uniformity is where you find the greater sense of complete compliance. You're also not going to have the burden of scrambling around trying to find your documentation. It will ease that burden because your documentation will be where you need it. And my favorite, again, it's going to be reliable documentation. So if you can report consistently across all of your programs, regardless of your funding source, and use this formula, you will create clarification for all of your administration and staff within your LEA. There is the slide for all of you visual learners so that you all understand that concept. And next we'll talk about the rules and regulations for time and effort. You've probably all heard about the Code of Federal Regulations, or the CFR, and I'm sure you've all heard of 2 CFR 200.430. So that is a code that is saying you will document your time and effort for for federal and non-federal funding. That's what that code says. The code below it, 2 CFR 200.334, says that you will maintain those records and the best practices for 5 years. Under Administrative Board Rules, R 277113 sections 5 and 6 say that you will create a policy and a procedure that applies to both federal and non-federal funds. You will also have it board approved and posted to the website. So these 4 codes put you in a bucket of most likely to succeed when it comes to compliance. The catch is, are you following your own procedure when it comes down to your audit? That's where I'm saying in your diagram, look at the procedures and make sure that they reflect what these codes are. So that's the most important, these 4 codes, and they're listed in the back in your notes. What is time and effort reporting? So time and effort reporting needs to be done consistently across all of your programs in order to make it easier for you and your LEA to understand what's being asked of you when you are monitored or audited. The most important piece to the puzzle is that you understand it's for federal and non-federal programs. So you want to have the first and last name of your employee and the actual percentage of effort spent on each program up to 100%. You want to include the name of the program or the activity and the associated object codes. I'm going to pause here and explain to you single cost objectives would be somebody who works on special education 100% of their time. You know that they're on special ed. That's what they do. It's 100% of their time. So that's how it gets reported. Sally Joe worked on special education 100% of her time. Here's your object code. And they're 100% of the effort. But sometimes you have an employee working on 2 or 3 programs, or they're paid out of multiple sources. And this would be an example of somebody who's working on special education for 50% of the time. And then the other 50% of their wages are paid through a general ed fund. So that's 50%. Now you've got an employee whose documentation of effort says they've worked 100% of their time across these two programs, and that's a multiple cost objective. So you want to make sure that you're reporting all of that. And then the reporting period is a range of start to end dates. A lot of times what we see is FY 24-25. This is not a reporting range. So your reporting period range is a start date and an end date, and in most LEAs it will coincide with some payroll lineup, but it doesn't need to, but it does need to be on your documentation effort report form. And then you want to have a signature. I recommend that you include the date of the employee and that you use language that includes and or supervisor. Because then if an employee walks out the door, gets hit by a train, or they just decide they're not going to be there next year, the supervisor can sign the effort report for that employee, and you can still be in compliance. This is going to be determined by your procedure. And yes, digital approvals are permitted. And last but not least, you want to document for single or multiple cost objectives, regardless of the funding source, as I mentioned before. So that brings us to stipends. If you pay somebody a stipend through federal or non-federal funds, yes, you need to report that effort. But the effort is tied to the program itself. So you want to report it as such. So basically, I tried to figure out how to say this to you last night, and I would recommend that you not think about how they're being paid, whether it's a stipend or regular pay, but rather you focus on the percentage of effort that's been assigned to that program. And so an employee is paid a stipend from Title I funds. You're going to report that stipend, Title I, 100% on that line for the employee. And then it's important to remember that you can't report over 100% because that stipend is tied to the program. So that's our stipend conversation for today. Now you're going to see a sample of a semi-annual documentation that includes all the information I mentioned before. Has your object code, the programs, the funding code, the distribution of time for the employee. A reporting period is on there. This is an example of semi-annual, so you'd do this every 6 months or something similar to that. And the employee's signature with a date, and then the supervisor signs and dates it. But I want to draw your attention to the little box on the left. These are two phrases or terms that are not interchangeable, but get mistakenly interchanged often. This is your period of reporting, which I mentioned before. This has to be on your documentation. This is the start and the end date, and it tells you the range in which that effort was performed. But your time frame of approval needs to be in your procedures, and I asked for this to be specific. I don't like vagaries because a procedure cannot be vague. So your time frame of approval would be we're going to approve our certifications monthly or semi-annually or annually, whatever it is. You can even specify dates if you want to go into that kind of detail, but make sure that your time frame of approval is in your procedure. All right, so here we're going to talk about some facts. In the past year or so, a little over a year, 60 USBE fiscal monitoring visits occurred for special education and title programs. Of those 60, how many LEAs do you think were issued a finding related to time and effort reporting stemming from issues with policy procedure or indeed your practices if you're not following those? So think about that for a second. Out of 60, how many do you think might have been part of it? And then I want you to sort of silently think, were you one of them? Was your LEA one of them that received a finding? Oops, I went past it. Okay, so there you go. 46 out of 60 LEAs experienced a finding, whether it was fiscal or not, and 77%. So 70% of our monitoring sessions resulted in that. And so if your guess was pretty close to that, then you understand what we're talking about. And if you thought that maybe one or two, then maybe you should read these slides again. You're welcome to set up a meeting with me at any point and we can talk about time and effort reporting together. So that was the fun part of this presentation. Now we're going to talk about my process. So, first, a fiscal monitor is going to refer your LEA to me, and I am going to receive from them whatever the identifying issues are for your time and effort problems and issues that we need to go over, whatever I need to talk about with you all. They'll give me a copy of your policy and procedures. They'll give me a time frame in which this, if it's non-compliance, in which it needs to be resolved. And then they will show me any documentation if they have any that they want to share with me. Then I will reach out to you and all of the business administrators who are inside or outside of your LEA, and I will contact them and invite them to meet with me, and we will spend some time together going over the issues that were associated with this fiscal monitoring finding, which could be with or without a fiscal impact. After I contact you, then we can assume that you accept the invitation and we meet, and that's on the next slide. So USBE is offering these services to really improve the internal controls for the LEAs and offer that protection against fraud and error. And I really like that USBE has offered this service to the LEAs because it sort of gets in front of the errors that we sometimes see. All right, so you've accepted the invitation. We're now going to work together. And what do we expect? We're going to sit for about 30 to 60 minutes, maybe longer if you have questions for me. I will share my screen and show you your time and effort policy and procedures that you have currently. Whether it's board approved or not, it's what I've received. You will be seeing my notes. My notes are going to be sprinkled across your document. They will be color coded and we will talk about what the colors mean so that you can take that document back and you can review it with your staff and administration and decide what you want to change, what you want to keep, if you want to make those changes and updates to your policy or not. And then I want you to understand that a lot of what we're talking about in that meeting will be just sort of a recommendation or a suggestion for your best practice to improve the time and effort reporting that your LEA already conducts, but it will also be something that might require LEA action to correct non-compliance. So sometimes you will be told you have to meet with me within 30 days, and I will be right there to meet with you. I want you to remember that the time and effort review meeting that we set up together is simply a service that USBE is adding to its protocol so that we can collaborate better with our LEAs in the monitoring process. Most of them like it. Okay, so the next two slides are notes that I've taken for you. And these are going to be sent to you through Lisa, I think. But these are the notes that sort of summarize everything we've talked about today, that your policy and procedures should be LEA specific. You're going to use your LEA name in it. It's going to reflect the actual time spent, not a budget estimate. It will include and incorporate federal and non-federal programs and citations within the document so that you understand what rules and regulations you're trying to meet. Your procedures are going to be step by step to show us the how to your why. And I think that it's probably going to be beneficial for you to look at this slide as well. This one has a listing of everything that's good to include in your documentation. We talked about it all. It's right there. And your codes to reference are at the bottom. So you can see that my email address is there, like I told you. That concludes my presentation, and I'm going to let Cole take the chair unless anybody has some questions for me. Cole?
Okay, well, thanks, Diane. Yeah, hopefully that's helpful for you guys. Diane's done a great job for us focusing on time and effort, as you guys can see from that little um, are you guys seeing the orange slideshow? Lisa?
Yes, I'm seeing the slideshow. We may
For
have,
the
we may have a problem if you're gonna be longer than about 6 minutes. So
I
I'm,
can I can be super brief.
okay,
My
that would be great.
presentation is very flexible.
Okay, we've had changes and it's affected my Zoom account, so yes, go ahead.
Okay, so I'll be super quick. I'll just hit some of the highlights and we'll send this over to Lisa so you guys can see it. So I'm just going to talk about some of the reasons we do internal controls fiscal monitoring. I've had LAs ask in the past, why do you guys have to look at our internal controls? Doesn't our third party financial audit, doesn't it catch all the issues? What do you guys do? So on this slide, I've just listed some of the more recent in the last couple of years embezzlement and fraud cases that have taken place in Utah. So I mean, you could Google these and you can find all the stuff out. There's been fraud at schools, at cities, at colleges, at USU is a recent one. Lots of just embezzlement and lack of internal controls. Different types of things. Iron County Building Department was just a recent lack of internal controls on cash management. And I'm sure you've all seen the news, the Nick Shirley stuff going around in Minnesota and California, kind of those big topic area frauds. But anyways, since I'm short on time, two LEA ones that we had in the last couple years that were in the news. One LEA, a secretary was found using a personal school P card to do personal purchases. External auditors never caught it. That was actually found by the LEA's internal audit team. So an external auditor never had the opportunity to find that. The biggest one took place over about 5 years, covered multiple LEAs. A person was able to steal roughly about $2.5 million over from a couple LEAs through various very very complicated fraud scheme, fake iPad or fake invoices, journal entries, etc. And like I said, external audits did not catch this. So over a 5 year period, there was 10 audits. Those LEAs received clean audit finding audits for all 5 years. So if somebody wants to commit fraud and stuff, they can hide it pretty easy. So yeah, that's kind of one of the reasons why we come in and do this and help you guys to keep you out of the news, keep you guys safe and whatnot. And then, yeah, like Diane said, time and effort's a big focus area we've had for the last year and a half since she started. And then just kind of for your information, probably our next internal control area we'll move into is more into the cash management area. Prior to Diane, we had another internal controls monitor, and he was hitting some cash management areas in his reviews. And, he had 5 LEAs that had internal control issues in the cash management area that the third party audit firms didn't catch. So, along with that, I would recommend taking a look at your cash management policies and procedures. And one area of concern that I have that Diane will start looking at, here in the next year or so is I know lots of LEAs use digital currency like Venmo or QR codes to let people into ball games and that kind of stuff. So just make sure you have policies and procedures that are up to snuff on that and protecting your LEA. And like I said, and Diane said, we do these things, to help you guys, to keep you in compliance, to help you prevent fraud in your LEA, keep you out of the news, just keep the money helping kids where it should be. Like I said, we're available for TA if you guys have any questions, need some consultations, anything like that. And then the last point, I don't know if any of you have seen these two movies. They're pretty entertaining, at least coming from an auditor, because that's kind of where I live. All the Queen's Horses tells the story about Rita Crunwell. She performed the largest case of municipal fraud in American history. It was buying racehorses and all types of crazy things. And then bad education, it's about a school district back east, largest public school embezzlement scandal in American history. That was with the BA and the district superintendent. So that's a pretty interesting story. So yeah, if you want to Google those, figure out where they are streamed, you can check those out. But yeah, so with that short of time, rush through that presentation and we'll send these over to
Cool.
send these over to Lisa so you guys can look at them a little more and we can always come back and talk to you guys later about this too.
Great. Thank you, Cole. I am so sorry about that. I was assured my account would not be cut off until after this meeting, but apparently they still changed it. So I only have that limited time frame, which I wasn't aware of. So
Okay.
I apologize again. Thank you so much. And thank
No
you
worries.
all for just getting through it. I
Just
appreciate it.
hit you quick and dirty. So we'll send those over to you, Lisa, this afternoon. And thanks, guys.
Yep, thank you. Okay, with that, that was another quick meeting. Thank you all for joining us. Like I said, I think we're gonna get cut off any second now. So I'm gonna say goodbye. Everything will be sent over. It should be so much quicker than it has been for the last two meetings. I appreciate you all being here and have a great rest of your day. Thank you.